Attractive teachers of Reddit, did you know which students had a crush on you? And what is the strangest or most inappropriate thing you overheard said about you? The strangest thing I ever overheard about myself was, while I was teaching at an all-boys private high school, one of them whispered to another, "She's so chill, she never gets b***y. You can never tell when she's on her period." This isn't from a student, but in my freshman year of high school I walked in on the entire baseball coaching staff discussing the various ways they wished to f*** the Spanish teacher. Yep, throwaway account here. I've had students spread their legs while wearing short skirts in front of me. One girl even pulled her skirt so far up that from my view it looked like she was sitting there in her underwear. Of course, being a new teacher I had absolutely no idea how to deal with this situation. Most common is girls that will seductively suck on their pants while staring into my soul. Even had one student put her hand on my upper thigh while asking me a question at my desk. This all happened last year when I took over for a history class. Since the teacher was out for the entire year, I was 23 years old teaching juniors/seniors. It was f***ing hell. When I tried to tell the other teachers what was going on, the female teachers would all just laugh and talk about how I really got thrown to the wolves, while the older male teachers would just talk about how lucky I was. I'd also be lying if I said I never had some perverted fantasies on lonely nights at home, but I'm only f***ing human. I'm pretty dense, so I don't always notice when people are checking me out. However, my students have to fill out evaluations at the end of the semester, and those usually give me an insight into their thoughts. Q. What did you like best about the TA? A. I liked that she was hot. The worst part is that some student worker has to type up all those awkward responses. At my high school, the hot art teacher that all the guys lusted after married the hot biology teacher that all the girls lusted after. An entire school of broken hearts. Not a teacher, but I have a friend who's one. When I was out of work for a while, I went to help her out in her grade 1 classroom. I play the guitar and helped her out with the music segments of her class. One day a little 6-year-old came up to me and said, "Do you have my phone number?" I said, "Oh, no, I don't have it." She said, "Oh, I have a trampoline you know." I said, "That's awesome." She said, "You could come and jump on it sometime if you wanted to." Innuendo aside, it turned out I actually knew her mom from a few years back. I went over, we jumped on the trampoline, then went to Dairy Queen for ice cream. I'm a male in my 20s and was a teacher at a public middle school where the hormones are changing and the social boundaries are completely non-existent. I had 12 and 13-year-old girls doing things as innocent as asking me to walk them to class or eat lunch in my classroom with me, to more explicit/weird like trying to touch my face or hair, leaving me notes and pottery, asking for my phone number and Facebook, and asking to pose in pictures with them. Almost daily, it was Mr. C_Bear, "Do you have a girlfriend? I know someone who has a crush on you." A lot of the students also had mothers close to my age, so there was some attempted matchmaking by my students as well. Parent-teacher conferences were weird. It was oddly flattering though, if only women in their 20s were so upfront and direct. Thankfully nothing negative came of it. I loved my job and had full support of the other staff and administration who were aware of the attention I was getting. Unfortunately, due to district budget cuts, I found myself unemployed, so I'm leaving in 3 weeks to teaching career. Not me. My older brother used to propose to one of the cute English teachers at our high school every single day. 5 years later, when I got to her class, she remembered him very fondly. Turns out she had been going through a terrible divorce that year and his daily proposals made her laugh. I had a girl sit at my desk to use my computer during lunch. She announced to the other kids in the room, "I'm behind Mr. Q's desk." Usually I'm under it. I hate typing on my phone. I've taught in New Zealand and now I'm teaching in the States. It's very obvious when a kid has a crush on me or is just checking me out. I'm constantly getting stared and seeing smirks between boys/overhearing comments. The things I just overheard? "Damn, she's a sexy b***. Yeah, that's right. Walk away. I love that view," and things like that. The most inappropriate? That would be when a 16-year-old yelled out, "Hey miss, I like your t-" as I walked by his classroom. was an English teacher in Japan at a high school. I had a foreign hot factor going for me, plus I was 21. 22 at the time, so by far the youngest teacher at the school. When I first started, there was a comedian in one of my best classes. Genuinely funny, even in English, which is rare for a 16-year-old learning a language. I only taught him his first year, but would see him around the hallways afterwards. He regularly asked me what my favorite food was, and if I would like to go get it with him. I'd say, maybe next time. He eventually asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend in a film his class was making for a field trip. Of course I said yes, and the scene involved him introducing me to his friends in class, me linking arms with him, smiling and saying, "Hi, I'm Quetzalcoatl." Another time, I had one freshman student run up to me dragging his friend, and proceed to try and tell me in English his friend had a crush on me. Only, he didn't know how to say it in English, so it came out like my friend. He grabs his friend in a headlock, my friend. You. Then proceeded to ask the other students around how to say, "My friend has a crush on you" in English. I laughed, pretended not to understand. The friend was tomato red by then, and said I had to get going, and to have a nice day. As a student teacher, I walked into our local high school to observe a point special needs class. One of the regular high school students told me I should come and observe him instead, if you know what I mean. I also had a 6th grade boy in the class, where I did my long student teaching experience, who was in love with me. He'd sit in the front row, propping up his head on his hand, starting at me with his mouth hanging open. All the kids teased him about it, but he didn't care. It was cute. I used to babysit a little boy that would get dressed up for me whenever I came over. He was really smooth about it though. If he knew he was going to be babysit, his mom said he would dress nice for the whole day to not arouse suspicion. He would only play his video games and do really non-active things, so he didn't get his clothes messed up. His tell was that he combed his hair, which he never did without being told. He was the little brother of my best friend at the time, so I knew what he was really like. But it's like, when I babysat him, it was date night or something. We would play board games, and when I had him put his PJs on, they would be the really nice 2-piece button-up ones. He never tried anything, thankfully, but I thought it was so damn cute. I'm an English teacher in a foreign country, so that alone probably has a lot to do with the attention I get from students, about 90% of whom are male. I'm a girl. I'm also the youngest teacher in the school by far. I currently have about 100 friend requests from students on Facebook. I get messages from at least a student or two every day. To top it off, my students think I don't understand their language at all, so they often make comments thinking I can't understand them. My first day, I overheard one student ask his friend, "Well, what do you think of the new English teacher?" His friend looked me up and down, smiled, and responded, "Oh yes, I'm very satisfied." I kept a straight face. I'm really not sure. Had a teacher in high school who met up with students after they graduated and slept with them. I heard he got fired and arrested this past year because he decided to take a chance on one of his current students and asked her out to coffee and back to his place. Unbeknownst to him, she was lesbian and went and told the administration right away. I teach in Indonesia. I have had many students ask me out after class, show cleavage during class, or keep their legs spread while sitting. I don't think it's because I'm overly attractive, but because I'm white. Ugly middle school teacher here with a hot wife. A group of girls took a picture of me with my wife and put it on Instagram with the caption, "How did he get her? I ain't even mad though." I'm not a teacher, but a student at an alternative school where my math teacher is a straight 11 out of 10. For reference, see Henry Cavill, A Man of Steel. Since it's mostly older people going back to finish high school in my class, he gets shamelessly hit on and flirted with constantly. One day the same usual group of girls were trying to flirt with him and asking him if he has kids, a wife or a special lady. When he says no, the ringleader of the dumb group winks at him and says, "Well then how about taking me for a spin?" To which he replies, "I don't think my boyfriend would like that very much." She turned beet red and left him alone after that. A couple weeks later I stayed after class to do some work for extra credit and we were chatting away about Halloween and I asked him if he was going to do a dorky couple's costume with his boyfriend. He looked at me, laughed, and said, "I'm actually straight. I just wanted those girls to pay attention to the lesson and not my dashing good looks. Keep it between us, okay?" I think he handled it pretty well. Except now there's a couple guys that hit on him. I think my math teacher knew. He was also the wrestling coach, and he told us if we ever wanted girls to be attracted to us, we should get a job as a teacher. His quote was, "You could be freaking Quasimodo and high school girls would still think you're cute." I wish it had been like this when I was actually in high school. I meant to say Quasimodo, but to the guy who got gold, "You're welcome for the mistake." Weirdest thing said to me, "I want you to twerk on my face." He got sent out of class for that one. Being a young attractive female secondary school teacher, you learn to perfect the not happening look. Although, most sexual advances come from students who are intentionally trying to get a rise out of you and are doing it to be edgy and impress their peers. The ones who have a genuine crush are harder to shoot down because they will take it much more personally. I be gentle but firm, tell them it's not happening and that there are wonderful people their own age they should consider instead. Honestly, on my part, the idea of thinking about a student sexually is just weird. Whilst their bodies are mature in the senior classes, their minds need so much more growing. They hold the sexual attraction of a tomato to me.